me wings, let me fly. Believe in me, let me touch the sky. I, Rakhi Chitnis, on behalf of SSRBM Trust, wishing you all a very happy Indian Air Force Day. On the occasion of Indian Air Force Day, the Indian Air Force, also known as Bharatiya Vayu Sena, is proudly celebrate its 89th anniversary. I welcome all the dignitaries of SSRVM Trust, our today's guest, Captain Pradeep Deshpande, principals, SSRVM schools, teachers, parents, and of course, my future dream makers, all dear students. Let us offer our gratitude to the Almighty and the lotus feet of our beloved Guruji with Guru Vandana. I request Rishika Hajela, SSRVM Indore, to come forward to begin with Guru Vandana. Rishika, it's over to you.
Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishika. Guruji quotes, curiosity is the beginning of the mind and wonder is the end of mind. Today, we all gather here to celebrate Air Force Day. India observes Indian Air Force Day every year on October 8th. On this day, the Air Force in India was officially raised as the supporting force of Royal Air Force of the United Kingdom in 1932. Every year, Indian Air Force Day is celebrated at Hidden Air Force Station, Ghaziabad, Uttar Pradesh. To give our tribute to Indian Air Force, I request Dilesh ji to play Indian Force Anthem for all of us. Dilesh ji, please.
जब सबको दुख सुख बाटे एक समान मिली भरी दीवानों का दल बढ़ता आगे सीना था वायुसेना की ये शान पीछे हो या करे कमान मन खतरा कोई आए अगर आए दम पर काल समान सूर्य के वीरों लो अभिनंदन सूर्य के वीरों लेके देश के नभ पर जब फैलाओ पर प्रहार लौटा हो घर शत शत है तुमको नमन देश तुम्हारे जब सबको दुख सुख बाटे समान मिली वर्दी वालों का दल बढ़ता आगे सीना था वायुसेना की ये शान पीछे हो या करे कमान मन खतरा कोई आए अगर छाए न कर काल समान
Thank you, Dilesh. Indeed, it's too motivating. To know more and to cater our curiosity about Indian Air Force, today we have our honorable guest from Indian Air Force, Captain Pradeep Deshpande. Pradeep ji is retired wing commander from Indian Air Force. As a son of an Air Force officer, he joined National Defense Academy after his schooling and onwards into Indian Air Force. He was commissioned as a fighter pilot and flew various fighter planes for 22 years. After his premature retirement from Indian Air Force, he joined Air India, where he flew commercial aircrafts for 16 years. He has been flying instructor for over 20 years and participated in Kargil wars. Being a passionate professional, he is also passionate about music. I once again welcome you, sir, for this occasion and request you to bless our children with your words of wisdom. Over to you, Pradeep.
Thank you very much. It's a huge honor, great privilege to be here among you all, and particularly the children who I have always loved. I'm very fond of children, and it's really nice to be here amongst all of you. So my introduction has already been given. I will just get on with this session, which primarily will focus on a career in the Indian Armed Forces in general, and specifically in the Indian Air Force. So the way I thought I'll go about it is to first just chart the path that I followed, because that is a path I think that any average student, any average boy or girl today, fortunately, can also follow. So what I'll do is I'll start with how and where I started my schooling. I started my schooling in various central schools. My father was also in the Air Force. So the Kendriya Vidyalayas provided me my early primary as well as secondary education. And which were in some good places, some remote places like Barrackpore, which was in close to Calcutta, then Chandigarh, Agra, and eventually in Delhi. So why I'm trying to bring out these details is because I want each one of you over here, and I address the students here, to believe that it is not difficult at all to pursue a career in the Indian Armed Forces, and subsequently even to become a commercial pilot, as I did, from very, very extremely modest backgrounds as well. So, so it was the central schools that provided me the Kendriya Vidyalayas provided me the early education. And thereafter, I was the first batch of 10+2. So at that time, because it was a new education system, they permitted children to join the NDA after the 11th as well. Today it is after +2. And for the children who wish to join the Air Force, they would need to do their +2 with physics and maths. However, having said that, it is not impossible to join the Air Force even from an art background. However, if you want to join the NDA as an Air Force cadet, you will not be able to join as an Air Force cadet if you haven't taken physics and maths. But you can subsequently join after graduation, which I'll come to as we go along in this talk. So, so how did I prepare myself after the for the NDA entrance examination? The NDA, for those of you who don't know, is the National Defense Academy at Khadakwasla, and it is an institute that started in the 1950s. It was a vision of the government of India and our leaders at that time to have an institute that will provide that will be a feeder for the Indian Armed Forces. And here, the idea was to train the cadets or train the future officers of the Indian Armed Forces in a single institute. Reason being that today, all of you must have seen various war movies and documentaries, and you see that it's no more a battle only where the army is involved, or only where the Air Force is involved, or only where the Navy is involved. It is usually a combination of all three forces that come together, and this jointsmanship, as it's called, or the synergy of operation, as it's called, is possible only when there is a good camaraderie between all the three services. And that this was the vision that was there amongst our military as well as the political leaders in the soon after independence. And that is when they decided to construct this place called the National Defense Academy. So it is located in Khadakwasla, which is close to Pune, and is one of the most fantastic and ahead of its time structure. I will just give you share with you some images of the National Defense Academy here. Salam, yeah. So, can I just... this was, of course, the aircraft we'll come back to in a minute. So this is the National Defense Academy. I hope everybody can see this.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so these are the gates of the National Defense Academy. So I will, as I show you these gates, I will tell you what does one get there. So after the 12th, there is the Union Public Service Commission, or the UPSC, conducts an examination, which is an open examination for all now, hopefully for the girls soon in November as well. But for the boys, twice in a year, it's held usually in the month of June and in the month of December. This is an examination that is conducted for 3 subjects. When I say, well, there are 3 papers actually. There's mathematics and there are 2 general abilities paper. Now, these general abilities is what covers both English as well as the subjects such as physics, chemistry, maths, physics, chemistry, biology, and general knowledge. Now, these are the papers that are conducted, and the preparation for this is very simple. One doesn't have to be a scholar. Let me tell you that I was... can I just pause this? Is it going on its own? 1 second.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is.
You can.
It is playing on its own. 1 second.
You can stop sharing once and then again you can share.
One second. Where is that?
You can
We'll
share
get
it
back to
again.
this. So, so the Union Public Service Commission, it conducts this examination twice in a year, and for which we all fill up forms openly. And all boys and girls today, girls also from starting November this year, will be able to appear for this examination. As I mentioned, there are 3 papers for this, and the preparation for this is very simple. There are coaching classes that are available for this. However, I did not use any coaching classes, and I'm sure, and I wasn't maybe just about an average plus student. I wasn't above average or wasn't an exceptional student. But what it requires is, what I want to tell you all is, it requires a understanding of the subject. It requires application. So, so all you children, when you study your subjects, when you study your physics, you study your biology, chemistry, just think about it as what you have to basically understand. It is not about learning by rote. The nature of the paper, the nature of the questions, etc., is such which uses your understanding, which uses your application, and that is how you would succeed. It's a competitive exam, and you are as good as the other people in your group will be appearing for this examination. The examination is conducted across the whole country, and today I believe it is also conducted in Hindi for certain. The mathematics paper is also conducted in Hindi. However, the other 2 papers are conducted in English itself. So once you clear this examination, it's a competitive examination, and it is not a pass or fail, but depending on the number of vacancies that are available every year, a larger than the number of vacancies is taken, because this is not there are a number of stages in this in the process before the final people are selected. So after the entrance examination, the people who qualify for the entrance examination are then called for what is called a service selection board. Now, just to tell you all that you need to make up your mind whether you want to join the Army, Air Force, and before you fill up your application as well. So once you have decided, okay, this is going to be a service, you have applied for this examination. Once you qualify the written examination, you are directed to specific service selection boards, which are for the Army, Air Force, and the Navy. These are separate selection boards. So so that's what happened to me as well. At the age of 16, I qualified the entrance examination, and I was taken to the Air Force Selection Board. So there, my particular selection was in a place called Varanasi. Everybody knows that today, Banaras or Varanasi. That is where the Air Force Selection Board that I went to had the selection process. Now, what does the Service Selection Board involve? You know, when I landed up over there, I was a 16-year-old boy, barely 5 feet 4 inches in height, and very small built. And I had these boys who were from Delhi, you know, those tall 6-footers with bulging muscles. And I said, no, I don't stand a chance against these guys. But let me tell you guys that there is nothing, it's got nothing to do with this kind of physical. You need to be physically fit. You don't have to be a Superman or an Iron Man. So, and it is not just physical capabilities. It is more like physical agility. It is your mental agility. It is your physical agility. It is your ability to solve problems. And how you're going to do that, I'll talk to you about that in a bit. So I landed up over there, and it was like, you know, initially you're in the knockout stages, and then you go to the playoffs. So you have day one, in which you have a small entrance examination, a very basic kind of questions, problem solving, quizzes, and things like that. After which, if you qualify that, you go into psychometric tests. There are those tests about where you look at pictures and we write small stories about that and things like that. And then you go on to what is called the pilot aptitude test. The pilot aptitude test is a test which checks out your psychomotor skills. It also checks out your ability to prioritize problems. So the way the test goes is, you have a small screen in front of you. There is something that's going on the screen. Say you have to keep a dot or within a circle. Moving your hands and maybe feet a little bit. At the same time, there will be a few lights that will be coming on: a red light, an amber light, and a green light that will keep coming on. And you have to cancel these lights. At the same time, carry on seeing whether you can keep the circle. So it's your natural ability to multitask and use your hand and feet and your eyes and your brains to keep that. Now, this test is conducted once in your lifetime. If you pass this test, you can become a pilot. But if you do not pass this test, you can never become a pilot in the Indian Air Force. So this is the only critical test. So even if you fail the interview, but you have passed the test, you can always come back for an interview the next time. So, we passed, those of us who passed the pilot aptitude test, then moved on to certain outdoor exercises. The outdoor exercises, once again, were not about how fast you can run and how high you can jump. It was all about how you can, just what a 16-year-old average child or a boy or girl can perform. And we were given certain exercises, certain team exercises, which could mean rescuing somebody from on top of a tree, or crossing a small river, or or just building a bridge across a pond, or something like that. So it was about people coming together as a small team, using the certain props which were given, such as ladders and bamboo, certain ropes, or a drum, and you have to use them to solve that little problem and deal with that. Once you are done with that, we had an interview with the president of the board. And once the interview was over, and those of you who passed were now sent to for a medical test at the various medical centers. After you pass the medical examination, the final merit list would come out based on the vacancies. And if you made it into the merit list, so each course would had about 250 to maybe sometimes up to 400 cadets. And those of you who made it into into that merit list would land up at the National Defense Academy. So now I'll just amplify a little bit about the entrance examination, which I mentioned to you all. How would you prepare for this entrance examination? Like I said, there is no special preparation, but at the same time, one has to know, one has to be an all-rounder for this. People today are too academic sometimes, but they have lost the ability to, or what we used to do in our time in school, like national capitals of the states, capitals of the countries around you, the India's natural resources, and the dams, the river systems, where are the industries, what about the Indian space program, how are things, who are our great leaders. So those are the things that I feel sometimes are missed out, and these are the things that one needs to to prepare for. So how would one prepare for this? And this will also hold you in good stead when you would come for the interviews. So my suggestion to the young boys and girls is that what you have to do is, for your academic preparation, you have to, as I said, use applied knowledge. and you have to develop the ability to think logically and solve problems. People who are interested in appearing for the NDA can come together as a group. You can pose questions, small problems to each other. You must develop hobbies, because it is important to be able to, when you develop a particular hobby, you go a little deeper into it. Our time, we had simple hobbies like stamp collection, sometimes, matchbox collections, coin collections, and things like that, or flag collection. So you looked at a flag and you thought, okay, this is the country, this is the currency, this is the kind of, this is the where it is located. So you developed a little bit of knowledge about that around the hobby that you have developed. So I would encourage you all to do that. Similarly, small puzzles, those ones you have where you have a number of figures and you have to choose which is the odd one out and things like that. Basically, you have to, your neurons, you have to make more connections in your brains and think a lot more laterally. Also, as I mentioned, geography, history, current affairs, the resources of India, certain scientific developments, our space programs, and these are the things that you have to do. You also need to have an opinion. How does one have an opinion on a subject? You have an opinion on a subject when you know a little bit about it, and not only that, when you know how to, when you have seen people express, or when you read about how people express their opinion over things. So editorials in the newspapers, magazines. There are many magazines, and there are also a lot of documentaries where you see people talk about certain issues, how they go to the background of that issue, how they first lay the facts of the issue, and then they start giving an opinion about it a little objectively, without becoming too aggressive about it. As they say, you will have people who will disagree with you on certain things, but you should be able to give your point of view. One can disagree without, as they say, without being disagreeable. So you have to develop this ability to be able to state your opinion politely yet firmly, because these are the things that will come hold you in good stead when you come into these group discussions, etc., which are a part of the NDA Service Selection Board. You could also form certain projects. You can, if there are any teachers here, I would encourage them to form these small groups and give them certain projects about, like I said, study the dams of India, how are the water resources of India, the climatology of India, a few things like that, where these children who are like-minded and want to do something can work on this sort of a project and gather some knowledge about it. Now, that is as far as the academic preparation is concerned. What about physical preparation? The physical preparation for the course does not require you to pump iron. It doesn't require you to have proteins. It doesn't require you to really have 8 eggs a day to make yourself. You just need to have, but what it needs to have is actually, I'm going to tell you, is going to be more demanding than the simple things like eating proteins and pumping iron. You need to have a routine. You need to have a plan. You need to have a plan that I'm going to get up at this time. I'm going to study at this time. I'm going to sleep at this time. I'm going to read at this time. And that is what will develop you physically. And it has held me in good stead. And I'm talking straight from my experience. So you have to, when it's simple things like eating on time can make a lot of difference to how you can work and think, even your academics. So you form a routine. You don't really have to run marathons. You can just go for a simple jog. You can do some skipping. You can play team games, which is so important, because I think it's very, very important for each one of you to play a sport to some standard. I don't mean you need to get to the national level. If you can, that's wonderful, but to some standard, and try and see whether you can play some team games. Now, cricket is not just cricket, but there are hockey, there's football, there's basketball. There are many such team games that that you need to need to go out and play, because it gives you that camaraderie, it gives you that whole team spirit. That sportsmanship that comes into it, because that is the basis, the ethos of the military, and in fact, not just the military. Today, corporates and other big companies derive their lessons from the military. because they feel that that is what is the, that is the foundation on which the entire structure is. Because why does that happen? That happens because each one is looking after the other person's back, and that's what you want. You want people to cooperate, you want people to work together, you want leaders. You want people, you want good leaders, you want good followers in any organization. So the military is actually the bedrock of that. And that is what is for you all, if you start getting into that frame of mind, it'll be so much easier for you all to succeed as you as you go into your preparation for joining the armed forces of India. So that is as far as the physical preparation is concerned. Even more important is the emotional preparation, is what I see. See, understanding what is sportsman's spirit. What when we say, okay, you look at the guy in the military, or that you are in trouble, or when there are floods and all, you just quickly say, okay, military, call the army, call the air force, call the navy, and they all get into the work and help the people. There is a guarantee, there is something that is a given when you look at a military person, or when you call the military person to assist. You know that the person is, 9 or 10 times he'll be an honest person, he will do things selflessly, and you feel secure around people from the armed forces. The reason for that is the emotional preparation that happens in places like the National Defense Academy. There you are taught that you have to take care of others. It is not about individual brilliance. It's about the team. So you have to start thinking in terms of that, because that will reflect when you go and appear for in the service selection board, or even in an interview, when somebody, or in a group discussion, when you take the people along with you, when you concede a point, when you say, it's okay, I was wrong, I think you're right, there's no harm. That is what then the people, the observers who are observing you, they realize that this is what it is. And here is a man that I want, or here's the girl that I would like to have, in my organization, who's willing to admit that I made a mistake, who is willing to, concede her point, willing to listen to others, at the same time has the ability to state her own case. So you have to be a team player. You have to be courteous. You have to be polite. You have to be clear in your not only just in your speech, but in your thought process. Because when you're clear in your thought process, your speech will be that much clearer. You have to respect each other. You have to, like I said, you have to give yourself a routine. You have to give yourself emotional diet routine also. There are so many self-help books. There are so many self-help videos that are available today for all of us to read and listen to and watch. Try and do that, and you are in such a wonderful environment. You're in the Sri Ravi Shankar Vidya Mandir, so I mean there is no dearth of that for you all, as long as you are willing to keep your mind open and just take in this emotional diet that is served to you each day. So remember, you are not preparing here for an entrance examination. You are preparing here for a career. Not only a career, you are preparing yourself to become a better human being. Right? The reason why I'm emphasizing it, because the preparatory work towards this is exactly that. You prepare towards what I'm talking about, and you automatically become, the rest of the things are collateral. They're the spin-offs which will automatically come into your character. So like I said, preparation for this examination or preparation for this institute like the National Defense Academy should not be a preparation. You should enjoy the journey, as they say. Enjoy the preparation. Start well in time. You might. I'll just give you an example. I was to appear for a particular examination later on in the armed forces, which was for post-graduation and defense studies. So we had an entrance examination, and everyone told me that just 3 months of preparation and you'll be good to go. So so my seniors told me that. So I started the preparation 3 months ahead. And when I started reading the books, they became so interesting that I didn't want to just do the answers to the questions. I postponed the whole, appearing for that exam by 2 years. I did not appear in the 3 months that they told me. I took 2 years to prepare for the examination, not because I have wanted to work that hard, but because there was so much fun in the whole preparation towards this examination that I couldn't keep those big books down. It was not enough just to read the question answers at the back of the book. And, it was the background to it, the whole story behind it, what the author thought about it. And as luck would have it, as they say, God is great. I topped that particular examination and got the opportunity to go to the United Kingdom to do the course. Otherwise, I would have gone to Wellington, which is in India, but I went on an exchange offer. And it was only because, it was not because I was trying to study hard for the examination. It was because I automatically became thorough, because the intention was not to pass the examination. The intention was to gain knowledge. So that is how I would strongly recommend for you all to do the preparation towards that. Now coming to the opportunities that are available in the armed forces. Okay, one before that, I quickly wanted to share the national, because I'm going to move on from the NDA to now to the Indian Air Force and others. So this is the National Defense Academy, just to impress you all a little bit. This is the aircraft that I flew first, which is the MiG-21. And these are the gates to the National Defense Academy. It's a neoclassical construction. This is the Sudan block on the left side of the screen, and this is the quarterdeck. And I don't know if any of you have been there, but this is a great piece of architecture with all ultra-modern facilities that are available to the students, to the cadets who come over there. And this is our cadets mess, where we have all our meals. Our breakfast, lunch, and dinner is served inside this to all the 1,000 cadets together. This is the what is called the squadron. This is the squadron. There are individual cabins for all the students. There are certain common bathrooms at the end of the corridor. This is our home, away from home for 3 years that we are at the National Defense Academy. This is the quartermaster's fort. Actually, the architecture is a mix of, the state of Maharashtra, which was, Shivaji's forts and things like that. And of course, some Greco-Roman constructions. So these are the smart marching cadets of the National Defense Academy. And this is what we do as a part of our training. And this is my course from the NDA that we passed out in the year 1981. And this was me as a fighter pilot, our squadron. So that is as far as this is concerned. So I'll come back quickly now to what does the NDA have in what do the services have in store? So it is not only the NDA that provides an entry for girls and boys into the armed forces, but there is an opportunity for people who have graduated also through what is called a Common Defense Services Examination, CDS. This is held for boys and girls who have finished their graduation. So for the NDA, it is after the 12th. That means from the time a child is between 17 and 19 and a half years of age. So he or she will get about 5 attempts to be able to qualify for NDA. And thereafter, people who have either missed the board or for some reason didn't have sufficient exposure and later on, have graduated. Then for the graduates also, there's another opportunity to appear for another UPSC examination, which is called the Combined Defense Services Examination. And that is held on similar lines, but at a different level, clearly, because now they are trying to test the graduates. Earlier, they were trying to test the class 12 students. Right. So after the CDS, you go and you can join the various services and you get what is called the permanent commission in the Indian Armed Forces. So what does a permanent commission mean? A permanent commission means basically that you get the President's commission and till you superannuate, that means till you finish your full tour of duty, you remain in that particular service. Sometimes it is exciting to know that, okay, you've gone into the Air Force and now nobody can remove you from there or into the army. But for many, there is a fear, there's an apprehension. What if I don't like? What if, because see, a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, I can imagine, may not know the whole thing about these services. And for some, it may not be suitable, and that's fine. But should there be any reason that the person doesn't want to do it? So now the armed forces have come out with what is called a short service commission. For certain branches, it is 5 to 7 years. For certain branches, it is up to 15 years. The reason it is for up to 15 years is because the government of India spends a lot of money. Each fighter airplane costs, in the region of hundreds of crores of rupees. And the training involved is also intense and very expensive. So they want to make sure that they extract, whatever has been plowed into your training, at least, you must get that back. So at about 15 or 17 years of service, one can leave the armed forces, come to the civil street and do more things. And it's not a big deal, because if you're commissioned at the age of 20 and you're out of the armed forces at 35, you've got a long way ahead of you. I served for 22 years. I came out at the age of 42, and after which I served in Air India for 16 years, and I still continue to fly even after retirement from Air India last year. I still continue to fly, and I got my own little business, and I got worked with some of the NGOs. So there is a lot of opportunity that is still available to you. So that is as far as the tour of duty is concerned. What do the services provide? See, the services provide you a fantastic platform. You get a wonderful circle of people around you. There are men and women who are working for a common cause. The whole challenge of there is adventure that comes to you on a daily basis at no cost to you. You are flying, even a Schumacher cannot afford flying a Su-30 or a Mirage 2000 or a Rafale. So there is great excitement, and it's not only about being a fighter pilot. The transport and helicopter pilots also do a lot of work. There is night paradropping. They, as you may have seen in the initial video, you take people into places like Leh and into the Himalayas. There is night paradropping over there. You're landing on short fields. You're doing service. You're doing flood relief operations. You're doing medical casualty evacuation. So there is a lot of things. It is not only about war and aggression. In the militaries, people think military is all about war. It is actually not about war. It's about preventing war. It's not about making war. It's about preventing war. You are a deterrent force. So it is not about violence. It is not about aggression in that sense. It's a sense of strength. So you put yourself in a position of strength, and the others know that, okay, he's a strong person, and therefore, you need to have that in today's world to secure your borders, to secure your nation. But that does not mean you have to be a warmonger. You're not a warmonger, right? So, and like I said, it is not about violence. It is about strengthening yourself. Even in sports today, and I remember, I think it was Rahul Dravid or Sachin Tendulkar, one of them, who said, aggression is in the mind. It doesn't have to be shown with, pumping fists or abusing somebody. It's all there in the mind. You don't have to, an elephant doesn't have to show, or a lion doesn't have to tell people that he's a lion. Right. So that is what the services are about. So they give you a tremendous opportunity to interact. They give you such challenges where your life is on the edge, and that gives you a sense of living in the moment. You live from day to day, and so you enjoy every single day of yours. Fighter flying involves a lot of risk. Why does it involve? Because you're pushing the envelope. You're trying to do that. So because you need to do that. And therefore in air combat, if you have to be better than another person, you need to push the limits of that particular mission. You need to push the machine to its limits. And that gives you that sense of excitement. And when you come back on the ground, you have already done all that. The adrenaline rush is over. So you really don't have to go picking fights with anybody else. Right. So that is how the services work, even for the families and for the children. Like I said, although we came from modest backgrounds, we stayed in places, in remote places. There's a place called Uttarlai, where I commanded a fighter squadron between 2000 and 2002. It is 80 kilometers from the border, and it is about 230 or 240 kilometers west of a place called Jodhpur, if you have heard. for my daughter, there was in class 4, and if she had to eat a softie, we had to drive all the way to Jodhpur, 250 kilometers to have a softie. Or my wife had to make something, her mother had to rustle up something for her to make it look exotic. So that is the hardship with which our families have faced, but they faced it with a smile, because now what happened was people came together as a group. So each one was looking after the other. You all innovated, and you had these barbecue picnics in the desert, and you just made a great life out of those things. And which later on, the other day we were looking at certain mattresses, and that person said, "Sir, what kind of mattress do you really prefer?" I said, "I don't care. I've slept on in the open under the sky on the ground and slept really well. So a mattress is not really a choice." So what I'm trying to tell you all here is that the military gives you the entire spectrum. They put you up in 5-star hotels also, and you're staying in the wild also, and you meet people completely like the Jawans and the airmen that you will meet probably in the services are with nil education, and there are people who are doctorates and things also in the same organization. So it's a great place to be. And it really prepares you not just for prepares you not just for the service itself, but prepares you for life. And you would see, and you would probably have met, that majority of the armed forces people who have come out into the civil street have always found they have always been welcomed by the corporates and by the NGOs and other places for the exposure that they received during their tenure in the armed forces. So I think with that, I would encourage. We are now about 40 minutes into the session, and if there is anything that I have missed, that if Binduji would want me to cover more, or should we take questions from this point? Because I'm not going into the specifics of the selection process, the age, the medical standards, because that is available on the website, and I'll be more than happy to share that with you all also later on. But what I wanted to tell you all, what I wanted to motivate you and tell you all is what the services have to offer, and how is it that you can prepare yourself for this career.
Thank you, sir. It's really very energetic to know more about Indian Air Force here with you, sir. The one thing that I must point out here, not only for me, but for all the students and those who are sitting in the audience, that learn not to crack the exam, learn for life. That is really important message that I received here. Meanwhile, I just ask audience, if you have any questions, you can chat around, so that we can read out your questions and sir may able to answer them. Sir, by the time students chat on with their questions, I have one question for you, if you allow me to ask.
Of course.
So you were talking about emotional strongness to be in Air Force, or emotional strongness to be in defense. Sir, what would you like to address our parents, those who are not from defense background, those who are civilians and their children want to get into the defense? Because sometimes our emotional boundings may not allow them to get into the defense. I would really like you to just speak to our parents, those who are here in the meeting for the seat.
Right. So, the small story of this is that even though my parents, my father was in the Air Force, and my mother, from the time she was married, she had seen the Air Force, but I was the only son. And she wasn't very keen for me to join the Air Force at all. But believe it or not, the emotional preparation for her came from a teacher. It came from my principal. And who was, when I was wanting to join the Sainik school in class 6, and I was insisting on joining it, my mother took me to the principal and told him that just tell this boy something. He wants to leave home right now. And the principal turned around and he made me sit down over there, and he said, "What is it that you want?" I said, "Sir, I want to join the NDA and become a fighter pilot." So he said, "Okay, that's fine then. So what's the problem?" He said, "My mother won't let me go to the Sainik school." So he said, "Okay, you go outside. Mrs. Deshpande, please come over here. Why don't you want him to join?" So, he's leaving home now. So he said, "Look, he wants to join, become a fighter pilot, and I think you should not stop him from that. What I can do for you is I'm going to tell him that he can join the NDA after the 11th and stay at home. He need not leave home now, need not go to Sainik school. He has the opportunity to go after the class 11. But you have to give me that promise that I am going to, that you're going to let him go at that point in time. So that was the preparation for her. And she actually bought time at that time. I think I thought that she's okay, abhi to jane do, let's see what happens later on. But come class 11, this happened. But as far as the parents are concerned, I think it is so important to let the child do what the child wishes to do. You give them the pros and cons of it. There is this is a false sense that there's a lot of risk. I think there is more risk elsewhere, not just risk of life and death, but risk of of this individual not being happy in life. I think that's a greater risk than merely having the person alive, because it is important that the passion with which the child has should be nurtured. And that is the emotional preparation I think the parent needs to have. If that is in perspective, I think that's good enough for the child.
Of course, sir. Of course. So I think one question is coming to me here in the chat. I'll just read out the question for you, sir. How to become a champion? The difference between parentner and
Paratrooper. It's a paratrooper.
Paratrooper.
Okay.
And para-SF.
Sorry?
Paratrooper and para-SF.
Para Special Forces.
Yes.
Okay. So, we all hear of paratroopers. Paratroopers are nothing but people who jump out of planes with parachutes. But that is just the basic thing. The reason why people jump out of planes with parachutes is you want to take a group of people to a certain location very fast, and because that area may not be in your occupation. That means you have a large area, and somewhere in between there is an area which needs to be commandeered, and then some work needs to be done there. So the best way is to take people in an aircraft with parachutes, take them over there quickly, and get them to jump out of the planes with the equipment, do their bit act over there, and then extricate those people out from there and bring them back into safe territories. So the paratroopers are specialist people. Paratrooper then by themselves is not a career, right? They are military people, both in the Air Force as well as in the Army and Special Forces, who are trained to do combat on the ground, but they are additionally trained to be their quick reaction. So they are trained to jump out of planes or out of helicopters. So they are called para commandos. So they are commandos and they are para commandos. So para commandos are the commandos who can be parachuted into enemy territory or into areas, not even for special forces who do these, like what happened during the Taj thing in Mumbai during the terrorist attack in Mumbai and things like that. So that is what para commandos are and para special forces are. So the para thing is an add-on. It is not a thing by itself.
Fine. Thank you, sir. One more question is coming. Are there any courses that can be taken after 10th to become a pilot?
Well, just to become a pilot, even there you need to complete your 12th. When I say pilot, by that I mean a pilot even as a non-military pilot. That means as a commercial pilot also, you can become a commercial pilot, but you need to pass your class 12th. You cannot become a pilot after class 10th. I think you can do nothing after class 10th. So don't start dreaming that you're not going to do anything after class 10th. Yeah, you have to do your class 12th. You have to complete your class 12th before you can start doing anything.
Thank you so much, sir. By the time the other question comes, I do have one more question for you, sir. Defense and discipline. The two words go parallelly, but sometimes it comes like life in defense is tough. Would you please comment on this, sir?
The last part, sorry, what is tough?
Life in defense is tough.
Life in defense is not tough. I think life in defense is very, very regular, very disciplined. I think that is what it is. And we have got used to, we think this is another point. We think it's cool to be, not to have a routine. Sadly, that even my own daughter, when she was growing up, when she was started her college, she says, I'm going to sleep late. I'm going to get up late. And things like that. She couldn't do it because it wasn't in her DNA, because both my wife and I are early sleepers and early risers. So she tried like hell because, it was cool to stay up late and things like that. But it takes a great toll on your body. It's not a good idea. It slows you down throughout the day. The night time, the early morning is really a period. All of you know that. I mean, SSURM, I'm sure you all know how important early morning periods are for various reasons. So it's important that you follow that, and the military understood that a long time back. So our whole routine was to get up in the morning. By 6 o'clock, we were already on our feet. We finished our outdoors by 8:39 in the morning, had a good breakfast. Academics was between 9 and 2 in the afternoon. There was a rest after that. There were games in the afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, followed by some time to yourself, little ante-room sessions, some songs and some stories and some news exchange, followed by an early dinner. And by 10, it was lights out. If a boy wanted to study late, he had to take special permission that I want to keep my lights on for 30 minutes more. If he was caught with the light on, or with some people wanted to read some books with the torch inside the blankets, if he was caught, he was punished for that. So this became our lifestyle. And when you start, anything requires, there is a period, there is a gestation period in which there is a lot of pain. Once you cross that barrier, it is a breeze. Even when we start running, the first 300, 400, 500 meters are very tough. But when you go past that, you can run for maybe a couple of 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers. And, it just goes on. So it's similar thing. It's for any work, anything that we do. So just get used to this thing. Don't believe that it's cool to stay up late and it's great to get up late in the morning. Just try this for some time. Give yourself time and see how it benefits you. Don't listen to anyone else. Don't let people discourage you to say that no, you are such a geek. You sleep so early and you get up so and get up so early. So believe it. Try it for yourself. Just experiment with it. If it benefits you, why do you want to change that?
Truly, sir. Now, because nowadays the generation are getting towards more in that situations or in that manner in their real life routines. Okay.
And yet another thing I would just like to add here is for parents and teachers also. People don't, students and children don't do what you say, they do what you do. So if even the parents need to follow that sort of a routine, they need to follow a routine. They need to keep the social media out of their system after a certain time. They need not sit late night and watch television. It's okay to do it on a weekend. Absolutely. I don't by no means stretch of imagination. I'm saying, you need to be just become too rigid about it. But most of the times you need to follow that. And if the parents follow that, the children will automatically fall in line.
Of course. I'll come to the last question here. It is asking that how many years of training is it required to become a fighter pilot?
It's a lifetime, actually. No fighter pilot can say he's become the best fighter pilot or he's reached his peak. But to answer your question, after 3 years of NDA, you do 1 year of basic flying training, after which you are granted the President's Commission. That means you can start wearing a wing, of a pilot's wing, and you wear your stripes on your shoulders. After that, you go into the fighter flying training, which lasts between 2 to 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, which is about 5 years of total flying, you will be declared what is called a fully operational pilot, which means you as a pilot can now go into combat on your own. So that is one watershed, if you like, where you say that, okay, I have met my basic qualifications as a fighter pilot. But needless to say that the training goes on, and because now the exercises become more complex, and you keep learning newer things, newer aircraft comes, new weapons come. So it's a continuous process. But yes, like I said, the basic training and basic qualification, about 3 to 5 years.
Indeed, sir. Thank you so much. It is really being very informative for us. And I know the students are curious enough to know more, but there are certain time constraints that will not allow us. Even though I'm receiving so many questions, but if you allow me, I'll definitely share those questions to you to get answered in future. So thank you very much, sir, to being here with us for this wonderful session. I really thank retired Wing Commander and Commercial Pilot Pradeep Deshpande ji for being here today with us. The session indeed very informative and of course help our students to decide their career for the future. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you.
I also convey my gratitude to SSRVM Trust for initiating such a wonderful session, which really helped my students to become a good citizens, a good learner, and as well as a good human being. I'm thankful to principals, SSRVM schools, for their never-ending presence and support for such events. And at last, but not the least, I thank to our entire technical team and for their remarkable support. And of course, social media of SSRVM for making this event a big success. Thank you very much, all of you, for being with us. Thank you so much.